Hey, how's it going, everyone? Milkmaster Fresh here, and it's October, which means we're going to be talking about horror movies. I'm going to try to watch a horror movie almost every night up to Halloween and give you guys my thoughts on these movies I see. And eventually, I want to have my top 10 horror movies of all time list to send out to you guys. So let me know what you think about these movies. The ones we're covering today, in order in which I've seen them, is the first Terrifier movie, It Follows, Split, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Scream, Terrifier 2. Those are the 6 movies this October I've seen so far, and let's get right into them. So first we have the original Terrifier movie. And I'd heard many things about this movie going into it, that it's ultra-violent, that it's disturbing, and that people really, really like it as a series. And I also see that the third movie is coming out, which I've got my tickets for. I'm going to go see it. Having seen Terrifier 2, I decided, yeah, they're good. Let's go watch them. So first Terrifier, I wasn't actually a huge fan of. I'm not a huge fan of all the gore in these movies and like the absurd violence. It's just kind of off-putting. But what I do like about the first movie is the character of Art the Clown. Not the scariest character, but he's got so much personality, and he is the number one horror villain I can think of that you do not want to get caught by. I mean, this guy's sadistic. You don't really understand what he is. And spoiler alert, he doesn't die at the end. He shoots himself in the head and he just comes back in the second movie. So there's definitely something supernatural going on. The first movie doesn't really have a plot. It's just following Art around as he saws people in half and chases them around and all that fun stuff. Again, I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but the character of Art I really liked, and it made me, like a week later, be like, I should give Terrifier 2 a try. I've heard they actually try to build a story with it, and that gets more interesting. So yeah, Terrifier 1, I'm going to give a C tier. At a tier list rating of S to F, S being the highest, F the lowest, I'm giving it a C tier. The violence is too much. I didn't like it that much, but I really like the character. The villain's great. Next movie I saw, I've seen this one before, but I felt like watching it again. Some of these movies I've seen before, and I'm seeing again. But It Follows. This movie is genuinely unsettling, and I would be pretty dang safe from the It Follows monster myself. I'm married, I got kids, but still, after watching It Follows, I was walking around the house, creeped out. My kid woke up when I was going to get some water, and I just see him standing in the doorway to the kitchen, and I jumped. I was freaking out. So It Follows is really good. It's a scary movie. The characters are kind of likable, but the atmosphere and the kind of rules the monster has to follow makes it that much more interesting. I think when you don't really explain the origins of a threat or a horror monster, but you give it like a set thing of rules that you understand, makes it really, really compelling of a creature to try to go against. It Follows, for me, is a definite A tier. I really liked It Follows. I think it's not the highest tier of movie, but it's really high for a horror movie. I love horror movies, but the only real horror movie I can think of that I'd give an S tier off the top of my head is going to be Silence of the Lambs. Again, that's a great movie. I might cover it later because it's one of my favorites. All right, my third movie on the list is Split. So Split I wouldn't really consider a horror movie all the way. It's definitely kind of creepy, but it's more of like a thriller, like a character-driven story. And I really like the story of it. I'm very back and forth on Shyamalan. I felt betrayed. I felt his betraying touch too many times in my life. I don't really trust Shyamalan all the way, but the movies he does well, I really, really like. And Split is probably my favorite of his movies other than Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense is actually a really good twist. Split doesn't really have a twist, but it tells a good story. But that's the movie with James McAvoy playing like 6 or something different characters throughout the entire movie, but this guy's got split personality. He captures all these people who haven't suffered, he thinks, and is going to feed them to something called the Beast, which is like his hidden personality that hasn't been unlocked yet, that goes around judging people that haven't suffered, in his opinion. Split's really cool. It's really good acting. Well, not the side characters, but James McAvoy and the main character. I forget her name, but very, very good acting on their behalf. It's a good story. I love Hedwig, who has red socks. And I was actually considering being Dennis for Halloween this year. I just shave my head, shave my beard, wear glasses, button up my shirt, and just go around judging people for their clothes. But yeah, I love Split. It's a really good movie. So I'm giving Split an A tier. And you'll notice something in my tier list of movies. Movies with great characters score higher than anything else. A good character in a story will always keep me going. The fourth movie is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one from the 70s. And I was surprised to how not really violent the movie was. Just being kind of desensitized to modern horror movies and things like that. And I've seen the remakes of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but not the original. But the original relies a lot on using your imagination, which I was really surprised by. I explained it in another video as you see the cause of the violence, but the effect remains largely in your mind. So you see Leatherface swinging a chainsaw at people, you see a little bit of blood flying off to the side, but you're not seeing it from the front. You're framing it in a way that your imagination has to do most of the work of what's actually happening to this guy. Or he's hanging people up on meat hooks, and stuff. And the acting, I think, is really, really good in this movie. There's probably some of the most realistic sounding screams I've heard in a movie before. And I was like, kind of sitting there like this most of the movie. Even though I'm not really witnessing horrific events, I'm kind of like seeing the assumption of someone being put on a meat hook and then them kind of like screaming in agonizing pain, but you don't see it happen. You don't even see all that much blood in the movie. But Texas Chainsaw was really impressive, actually. I think I'd have to give the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre a B tier, a high B, because I felt like it was dragging a bit, but it's really well put together movie. And I was very impressed with it. I didn't think I would be that impressed, but yeah, I'd call it a B. And we got the original Scream. So Scream, I watched with my wife, and I've seen some of the later ones, but I'd never actually seen the original, the one that started it all. It's definitely kind of a comedy if you haven't seen Scream. It's like a comedy horror. Kind of violent, but it's more than anything, I feel like a very self-aware horror movie. And I didn't predict who was the killer. I think like two times I changed who I thought was the killer in the original Scream, and I was wrong both times. So it was kind of funny to see that it was, spoiler alert, multiple people. Yes, I found myself laughing more often than I thought I would at Scream. I think they did that on purpose. It seems very intentional to me. But Scream for me is another B tier. I'd say lower B tier than original Texas Chainsaw, but yeah, Scream was a good time though. I liked it. And now for the sixth movie that I've seen so far, which is Terrifier 2. And I'm really glad that I came back and saw Terrifier 2 after seeing the first Terrifier, because the first one I was kind of like, I don't know if I really like this series or if it's worth my time watching. But Terrifier 2, I genuinely walked away from the movie after like the long 2 or whatever hours long runtime it is, but I was like sitting there, credits roll, and I was like, yeah, this works, this is good. The storytelling's really good. People complain about the pacing of Terrifier 2. I had no problem with it. I was pretty riveted the entire time. Like, toes were getting stiff in my shoes. Like, it was just like, it was a good movie. But the character of Art gets even more entertaining. Art the Clown is way more entertaining in this movie. He's sitting around just totally screwing with people, which is probably my favorite part of the movie, is just watching it, but not actually killing anyone, but just walking around messing with people and giving them the crazy looks and stuff. And he's a great character. The movie's very violent, extremely violent if you haven't seen those movies. A lot of mauling up prosthetics, pulling skin off prosthetics and stuff like that. It's really gross. And again, the only thing I don't like about the Terrifier movies is how violent. I wish it was less vivid and perhaps use a little more imagination, or leave it more to our imagination as the audience, because it is really vivid with how they're killing people in these movies, pulling parts off people. Yeah, it's hard to watch at times, but It's really funny what they do. Art's doing something awful, like skinning someone, for instance, and it's really hard to watch. You're sitting there like, oh, and they cut to Art's face, and it just makes it funny for some reason. Like he's just reacting or he's laughing silently about something because he doesn't make a sound in either of the movies. But Terrifier 2, supernatural. It goes really supernatural at the end, and I'm a huge fan of it. I think the good versus evil dynamic they build in Terrifier 2, I'm so there for it. It's really cool. I hope I got my tickets for Terrifier 3. I hope it has a similar vibe. I've heard people say that Terrifier 3 goes a little bit harder on the violence and stuff, which I can tolerate, but what I want to see is the good stuff with Art's character, messing with people, being funny, and then the main characters like Sienna and getting powered up by like an angelic good. That was so cool in the second movie when she gets killed and then resurrects like Art does, but she comes back and she's just like stone-faced and like marching like a soldier, like almost like a statue at Art, hacking away at him. It seems very otherworldly, and I was like, that was one of the coolest comebacks I've seen in a horror movie, someone defeating the villain. Really cool. I'm all for that. So guys, I'm giving Terrifier 2 so far my highest A tier. I can't give it an S yet. I think the violence puts me too far off, that I can't put it in the same category as Silence of the Lambs and some of my other favorite S tier movies of all time. But it's a high A for sure. And we'll see how Terrifier 3 does. I have high hopes for it. I'm going to be there for it. Are you guys going to see it? And what do you guys think of my movie list so far? Give me some suggestions too, because I'm going to keep going with this. Probably do a video of 6 movies at a time, and I'll kind of give short little rankings and reviews of each one. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you guys in the next video.